Anybody in?
No.
Okay.
No.
Is Chris, you on that? Okay.
And no,
All right.
and I don't know.
You ready?
I just don't know.
Okay. Let's step on up. Okay. If everybody's ready, is everybody set? Yeah, good. Okay. Good morning. I'm attorney Ben Crump, and along with attorney Bob Hilliard, my outstanding co-counsel here in Texas, as well as attorney Michael Richardson, attorney Alex Hilliard, and one of my law partners, attorney Chris O'Neill. We have the distinct honor of representing the family of Walter Hutchins, who are just devastated, to say the least. You have present with us his mother, Marilyn Lewis. You have his aunt, Emma Johnson. You have his aunt, Dee Dee Gillum. You have his uncle, Joseph Ballard. You have his cousin, Adonis Gillum. And you have the mother of his child, Candace Johnson, and his infant son, Walter Matthew Hutchins Jr. Just the splitting image of him. And we're here because, unbelievably, Walter Hutchins was executed. And it's clear. You don't have to take our word for it. Watch the video. Walter Hutchins was executed. And Attorney Hilliard, we talk in the African American community, we see far too often where you have the police, unjustly kill us, where they're the judge, the jury, and the executioner. But now we see these bounty hunters, these private citizens, judge, jury, and executioner right there on the spot in less than 5 seconds. 5 seconds from when they stop those SUVs, they jump out. 5 seconds, shots are fired. Walter is executed. Her son is executed. His father is executed. And it's painful to this family that, these private citizens are acting as we have seen people with guns and badge act. Well, that's not allowed. And what this family is wanting is due process for Walter Hutchins. They believe that this was an unjustified killing, and they want the truth to come out. They want transparency. They want the Houston Police Department to do their job, because they know if the shoe was on the other foot and Walter killed them, Walter would be arrested, and people would have to face the evidence against them. I mean, look at the video. It is hard to believe what you're seeing. They pull up and you don't see any identifying vests or anything saying who they are. They got ski masks on. Walter thinks he's about to be robbed. I mean, what would you think when you look at that video? You get in your car, people all of a sudden pull up to you, jump out with guns? Walter had a right to self-defense. And so that's all we're saying, that we want the truth, we want transparency. The family is extremely grateful to James Prince, one of Houston's leading citizens, an icon in the black community here in Houston, who helped get the word out so they couldn't sweep this under the rug. And so before Attorney Hilliard speaks to you, I want to have, I'll have Attorney Hilliard speak to you, and then I'm going to have James Prince speak to you all by telephone. He's been so instrumental in helping the family and make sure that Walter Hutchins' death is not swept under the rug.
That's right.
I give you Attorney Bob Hilliard, my learned co-counsel. We fight all across the United States, but now we're here in his home state of Texas, fighting for the family of Walter Hutchins. Bob?
Thank you, Ben. Good morning. I'm Bob Hilliard. Walter Hutchins did not know 5 seconds before he got in his car that it was going to be the last few seconds of his life. And his family wonders what he may have been thinking about. Maybe it's his son, Walter Jr., who last night woke his mom up crying for his dad and asking for his dad. Or maybe he was thinking about the week before when he sent an Uber to his mom's house to pick her up so that they could have dinner together. This wasn't a man that deserved to be murdered on the street. He was a friend of many. He was loved. He was a family man. He was a dad. And as his counsel in Texas, our intent is to do a complete investigation to determine all of the individuals who are responsible, not just the shooters, but who paid the shooters, who told the shooters what to do. And this family deserves, and our law firm will assure them that we will not finish an investigation until every single individual who had a hand in Walter's death is brought to justice. We asked the Houston Police Department, we asked the Houston District Attorney's Office to treat this investigation as the same as Ben said, if it was flipped, if it was a black man that came up on a white man and shot him in his car. Justice should be blind, and Walter's family and Walter deserves it.
Thank you so much, Attorney Hilliard. If you bear with me, I'm going to, many of you have already spoke to Jay Prince. I'm putting him on the phone. Hey, Mr. James Prince, I have you on speaker in front of the Harris County Courthouse, and we have the press here. As I told them, you were instrumental in breaking this story, and you've been supporting this family from the beginning because you're an icon in the black community here in Houston and all over America. And if you would express your feelings and sentiment about this tragic killing of a young man who you consider to be family.
Yeah, no, he is my family. And I definitely witnessed what has taken place from A to Z. And as I've said many times, this is a straight assassination that I witnessed. You know, they didn't even give him an opportunity to know who they was. And anybody from our hood, Fifth Ward, we understand that his danger that roams in our neighborhood, you know, all of our lives. So for me to even witness, you know, renegades run up on him the way they did, you know, without giving him any kind of warning, without having a police light, siren, anything to say, you know, we're trying to arrest you, brother. Then, you know, we wouldn't look at that no other way than robbers, hijackers, someone that's coming to, you know, bring harm to us.
Now, and we agree with you, James Prince. We believe if the police were executing this interaction, this arrest, this serving of this warrant, they would have come with sirens. They would have set up a perimeter and gave verbal commands before they got out and started shooting. And that's why we're asking for truth and transparency, because what we see with our eyes, as you and I discussed, it just doesn't seem like Walter Hutchins did anything differently than any other citizen would have done when strange people approached his automobile with ski masks pointing guns at them.
Well, anybody know Walter, and me and the family, we definitely know Walter. Walter is not a violent individual. You know what I mean? We understand that he may have had a warrant and different things like that, but that's not a green light to take a man's life. You know what I mean? It's not a green light to play police and overplay police is what they was doing. You know what I mean? They was imitating hijackers. You know, and I watched this tape and I watched this guy who I think put a bullet in Walter's head. I was able to watch him sit there across the street for 4 or 5 hours knowing where Walter was, which is plenty of time to call for police help, plenty of time to arrange for proper, you know, a proper arrest. This guy waited all of those hours to run across those streets and pull a bullet in Walter's head. And I saw this with my eyes. This ain't nothing that I'm speculating. So, you know, when everybody get an opportunity like they have, you know, I put the tape out. You know, we done a song called Mind Playing Tricks on Me years ago, but our eyes ain't playing tricks on us when you look at that videotape.
That's right.
Hey, well said, James. And again, this is James Prince, icon in the Houston community, the founder of Rap-A-Lot Records, who have always supported this family and was instrumental in making sure that this case was brought to the public. Hey, Brother Prince, I'm going to let you go, but as soon as you get back to Houston, I know there's going to be a lot of people want to talk to you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. And it's really profound what Mr. Prince is laying out, because the police would have given verbal commands. They wouldn't, we don't believe, just jumped out with guns and you don't know who it is.
Yeah.
There would have been sirens. There would be something to tell him that we're here to serve a warrant. We're not here to burglarize you. We're not here to rob you. But that is not what you see on that video. And it is devastating, absolutely devastating to his family. And so before Attorney Hilliard and Attorney O'Neill, I tried to answer a few of your questions, we think you should hear from the people who knew Walter best. And we will start off with his mother, Marilyn, and then we have his aunt, and then finally you will hear from the mother of his infant son.
Are you aware of any rules regarding bounty hunters?
Yeah, we're gonna talk a lot about that. We think there were several rules that should have been followed in this tragic circumstances. But first, we're going to have his mother, Miss Marilyn, just talk to you for a minute about what happened the night before her son was killed, her firstborn. And
He was murdered.
Yeah, he was. You can take your mask off, Miss Marilyn. Take your time. Yes, ma'am.
Tuesday night, about 9:15, Matthew calls me. He said, "Mama." I said, "Huh?" He said, "Mama, get up." He said, "Get up, Mama." I said, "Oh, Matthew, come on." I said, "Yep, come on, get up, Mama, because I'm sending you an Uber to come get you, and we're going out to eat. I'm going to take you out to eat, Mama," because he surprised me before this way, but it just had been a little while. So I said, "Okay, Matthew." I said, "Matthew, you know it's 10 at night?" He said, "Yeah, Mama, just come on, the Uber already outside, come on." And when I got there, he was smiling because he got me. He surprised me when I got there. My baby, his sibling, Marquise, was already there. His other sibling, Malcolm, was, they all names. So when I got there, his sibling, Marquise, was there. His sister, sibling, Ladora, was already there, and her friend, and Matthew's friend, and my handsome grandson that looks just like him. They were already there, and I was like, wow, they surprised, like, Matthew, I'm gonna get you, because that's the kind of spirit he had. I mean, he had the spirit of always and of joy. Now, he was smiling because, "Yeah, I got you. I'm surprised you did." And I said, "Yeah, you sure did." And then later on, I said, "Well, only one of us is missing." So I said, "I want you to call Malcolm and put his face where we could see it and say hi to him while we were having dinner. And he did. And he went to teasing me with his phone trying to take my picture, and I wasn't ready yet, so I kissed him at the top of the head. He's like, oh, because that way I got him, caught him off by surprise. And that was it. That was the last time that I saw my son. Hugged him, kissed him, and as we said our final goodbyes that night from the restaurant. And the very next day, that mid-Wednesday evening, I called him because he really did surprise me, especially to see my grandson again. And because the first thing came out of my mouth is that it's my grandson. I forgot, but he really surprised me because my grandson was there. Yes, and I have to shut it down for right now.
No, we with you, Miss Marilyn. She never knew that was the last time she was going to see her son. And now we will hear from his aunt, Miss Emma Johnson, who would talk about who Walter was to their family.
Yes. I'm Walter's aunt, and as you can see, we all are here to advocate on his behalf because it's obvious he's not here with us, but we know we have him in spirit. Walter was just an amazing kid. He was a charismatic kid, always charming and laughing and full of joy. And, you know, every time he came in the room, if he came to visit, his big smile just radiated the room. Walter didn't deserve to die. This was a plot, a plan, and a ploy. They ambushed him. They didn't give him time to even acknowledge the fact that they were whoever they were. Just as Mr. Prince stated, they were wannabe bounty hunters that assassinated him, walked up and just unloaded, firing shots. Just, you know, this was a gruesome murder. This was not by coincidence. This was staged. It was orchestrated. They planned this. If you look at the tape, you can clearly see that they had so many hours to issue go in the proper way and retrieve Walter, but they failed to do this. And so my family, we are very heartbroken. As you can see, he has many friends. People love Walter all over the world. Walter was a businessman, entrepreneur. He was a scout. He worked with music artists and people that came from just various areas to come and entertainment, sports figures, and he would take them around town, and he built a rapport with businessmen that when they needed vehicles, he toured them around the city. We're definitely gonna miss Walter. Walter will greatly be missed, and they took a big chunk out of our hearts. They took a big chunk out of our community. Walter did not deserve to die. They murdered my nephew. They ambushed him, they killed him, they murdered him. If you look at the tape, it's clear. And even as Mr. Crump said, you can't hide this one. This will not be swept under the rug, and we want justice for Walter. We're not going anywhere. We're not leaving. We're not going anywhere. We're going to stand, and we're going to advocate for Walter. We're going to do whatever we need to do to make sure that he's not forgotten.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can we get a spelling of her first and last name?
My Emma, E-M-M-A Johnson, Johnsson. Thank you.
Marilyn, M-A-R-I-L-Y-N.
Lewis, L-E-W-I-S.
Thank you. And the last person you will hear from would be the mother of Walter's infant son, Walter Jr., and she's going to speak to you about who he was and the father he was.
So many times in our community, people are quick to say how black men aren't good fathers or how black men aren't there for their family or for their kids. That's not true. Walter loved his son. He was so ecstatic to be a dad. Like, they were best friends. If he walked in the room, my son's face would light up. If he FaceTimed, my son's face would light up to the point where, like, he'd have to hold the phone to talk to his dad. Like, they had their own special language and their own secret code. The love was, like, exponential. This whole soul. I don't know how to go on. I don't know how to explain to my son, where's his dad? Like, he's going to miss his first steps. He's going to miss his first words. Like, who's going to teach him how to dribble? Like, his first day of school. Like, all of these things that people don't think about, I have to deal with and live with and explain to my son for the rest of his life. Like, every time I look at him, he looks just like his father. He embodies his dad. It was not fair. It wasn't right. It's not okay to just take somebody's father away from them this way. A son, a brother, like, he was more than that. He was more than what they did to him. His son loves him. I speak for his son. His son can't speak now, so I speak for him today, tomorrow, and from now on. We want justice for Walter. Justice for his father.
Justice for Walter. Justice for Walter. Justice for Walter. Say your name and spell your name.
Candace, Candice. Johnson,
And we should get
Johnsson.
those to distribute.
How long have you been together with?
Off and on for 4 years. Yeah.
So at this time, we'll get pictures of him and his son sent to you electronically. But right now, we're going to try to take some of your questions. Attorney Hilliard, if you'll join us, and we'll try to take some of your questions.
What do you know about the bounty hunters? Who they are? Who hired them? How long they've been working? All that stuff.
We don't know that information yet. This is the beginning of our investigation. But as Attorney Hilliard and Attorney O'Neill said, we intend to look under every stone. We're going to dot every I and cross every T, because what we see on the video is ocular proof that this seemed to be an execution. It didn't seem like a policy or procedure. Next question.
As far as you know, what are the rules regarding bounty hunters? And as far as what is their procedure when they come up?
Right. The problem with bounty hunters in Texas is they're paid by their bounty, so they're paid to be aggressive. If they capture someone who has a warrant, they get paid. If they don't get paid. So there's a monetary incentive for them not to be careful, for them to be overly aggressive, to be sure that they get paid. However, they do have some restrictions in Texas. They have to identify themselves. They have to have clothing that shows who they are, so the person that they come up to doesn't think that they're being mugged or robbed. Put yourself in the place of Walter at that time of night. Anyone put themselves in the place of Walter. Suddenly, without warning, there are 4 people pointing guns and yelling at you. All Walter tried to do, if you look at the video, is put his car in reverse. Get out of that situation. And they immediately all started shooting at him, and he was dead in seconds. There's no procedure that bounty hunters are allowed to follow that was followed that night.
What state rule dictates that they have to wear some sort of identifying features, identify themselves? What dictates that?
We'll get all that information to you.
State statute.
Yeah, and we'll get all that information to you. But what we do know is private citizens, even if you categorize them as bounty hunters, can't be the judge, the jury, and the executioner. And who can look at that video and say that they, on the spot, judged him, decided his verdict, and determined his death sentence in a matter of seconds? And that's why we're here saying, proclaiming, and demanding justice for Walter. Justice for Walter. Justice for Walter. And we'll take 1 or 2 more questions, and then the family has to prepare for, unfortunately.
They've been allowed to get their bounty if they alerted the law enforcement agency. We have identified him in this location. We're going to make sure he doesn't get away, and then the authorities come in and arrest him.
No.
They don't get a nickel.
So the reason they sat there for 6 hours and they surveilled him, instead of calling Houston Police Department and inviting them to arrest Walter, is because their bounty was contingent on them doing the arrest, doing the retention. And what's going to be interesting to find out is does the bounty care whether you bring them in dead or alive?
It's going to be a lot of questions that need answering, because that is the first question that comes in everybody's mind. Why wasn't the police there to help better coordinate this execution of a search warrant? There's been a lot going on in America about the execution of search warrants. You know, police have certain powers, and they're supposed to have certain training and regulations. We need to make sure that if these bounty hunters are going to be, I think Attorney Hilliard, trying to exercise police powers, that they follow the rules to the letter of the law. I mean, how many times do we have to talk about this violation of the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searches and seizures, especially black and brown people in America? It's almost as if the Constitution doesn't apply to us. The Fourth Amendment doesn't apply to us. You think Breonna Taylor, you think Amir Locke with the police, but these weren't police. These were private citizens. So,
For money. What's been the response of HPD so far?
okay, last two. That they're investigating the matter. That's all the family has been made aware of. But we just think if the shoe was on the other foot, they have the probable cause on that video. That's the probable cause they need to at least arrest them and say what you did was not legal. It was not appropriate. And that's what this family is saying. They just want equal justice. They're not asking for anything special.
What were they trying to serve? And then as far as what legal proceedings are you guys going to take?
We don't know what they were trying to serve. We know that we have asked through an open records request to get the police report. We believe that the Houston Police Department has already interviewed and brought in the shooters to determine what their story is. We also believe that the video that we have was not known at the time they told the Houston Police Department what they say happened, and then there is a video that shows that they shot fast and shot first.
Yeah. And so as we get information, we will keep you abreast, but we expect the Houston Police Department to give this family what any other citizen in Harris County would want, request, and demand. That is truth, transparency, and due process of the law. Because Walter Hutchins' life matters. Black lives matter.
Just for clarification, was Walter at his own home? And is that where the surveillance video came from?
No, he wasn't at his own home. The surveillance video became from a business. And so he was coming from a business as we understand
He
it.
was at a barber shop.
Yeah. Thank you all. Yes, ma'am.
So sorry, as far as you guys moving forward legally,
We're going to explore every legal remedy applicable to make sure this family gets full justice, whether that's a civil law, wrongful death lawsuit, whatever it may be. Attorney Hilliard and the Ben Crump law firm, we're going to make sure that we fight for this family to get justice, because this little baby now has to grow up without his father. And I know some people look at that and say that's not our issue. Well, in our community, we know how important it is to have a father in a little boy's life. I mean, it's crucial. And this is a crucial matter because his father's life mattered, and we're going to fight for him. And he'll see this video one day, and he'll know that we fought for his father. Thank you all.